And they will ride with him and fake it, and Willie to throw. Willie with all day again. Fires, left side, got it.
Oh, what a move!
25, 20, 15, 10, 5, to Nico, touchdown! And hello again, everybody. Welcome into the David Dean postgame report here this afternoon. Coach David Dean of the West Georgia Wolves. You've been through a few of these battles with the Blazers, and we'll talk about that, both sides of this rivalry. SMI, Systems and Methods Incorporated, bring this to you after the ball game. And, Coach, first, your thoughts about a 42-13 win and a second half where we owned the football game.
Well, I was really very, very proud of our defense for coming in the second half and holding a very good offensive unit to no points. And if you think about the entire day, our defense didn't give up a touchdown. The only touchdown we got was all special teams. And, that's a good offense. They do a lot of good things, got a lot of weapons, and we kept them in check. They got some yards, but we bowed our neck when we got into the red zone. So I can't say enough about our defense and how well they played, and also our offense. At key times we put together very good drives and kind of kept their offense off the field a little bit, but it seems like every time our offense came out, we responded to something that Valdosta State was doing, and that's a sign of a good football team and a team that came out to play today.
Coach, we talked on Thursday night getting ready for the ball game, and you said one key is don't let them have big plays. Make them execute a lot of plays to get points against them. That strategy seemed to work really, really well today.
It did, and again, credit to, number one, our defensive staff and the game plan that they put together, but also our kids and how they executed. We had a great week of practice, great week of preparation, and I thought they came out and played with, I always talk to our kids, play with relentless effort, and I thought that's what they did. They've got good running backs. Their quarterback's an excellent runner with the football. They've got weapons at wide receiver, and we were really scared of them making those big plays. Now, they had a couple of runs of 10, 12 yards, but we forced them to have to drive the field and be perfect play after play after play.
And there weren't a ton of turnovers in the football game. We had the breakdown in the kicking game. We got a fumble from them late. It looked like we were about to pick one off about 5 different times, but we, that was when we forced him to throw under duress a little bit.
Well, and that's one of the things that we knew we had to do. We knew he had a little bit of a bum shoulder. He had hurt it, and what we had to do was keep him in the pocket and not let him get out and throw on the run. And to his credit, he did that. Some of the big plays that they made, he got out of the pocket, broke contain, got down the field, and made some good throws. But again, that says a lot for our defensive line and the pressure that they were putting on him.
I know it's not about statistics, Coach, but 550 yards of offense, and that's not an untalented defensive football team they had out there.
Absolutely not. You look across there, and they got great size, they got great speed, they got a very good scheme. Again, credit our offense and our kids and the way that they came out and performed today. We were able to run the ball at key times. We were able to make big plays in the throwing game. I thought we did a good job of mixing things up against those guys and trying to stay pretty much balanced and keep them off balance. But again, I can't say enough. Really, really proud of the way our players played in that game.
Coach, first time we touch football, we drive and score. That's becoming, I won't say, maybe a tradition. It's something that at years past in various teams we've had here, we got noted for that. And we came out of the gate and did it again today.
Well, that's the third straight week that we've done that. We need to continue that because if we can get on the board and go 7-0, number one, it makes a statement to the other team, but it also gives your team confidence, and you can send your defense out there with a lead.
And that's both halves today we
did
that too.
Sure, we did that. We came out of the locker room and took that opening drive and went and scored. I think we scored on our first 2 drives of the second half and took it from a 21-13 lead to a 35-13 lead. And that's huge. When you can build that type of lead and the way that our defense was playing, that was going to be very, very hard for Valdosta State to overcome.
A lot of emotions in a game like this. I think maybe sometimes both teams let it get away a little bit, but still it was an emotional football game.
It was. It's a rivalry game. A lot of these kids played against each other in high school and probably played with each other in high school. There's a lot on the line. That peach basket means a lot to both programs. And it was a very emotional game, and there was probably a lot of chipping going on back and forth. And both teams need to control that. We need to eliminate that from not only Gulf South Conference football, from college football. And we'll address that. We'll get it corrected, and hopefully in the future it's not going to hurt us in games that may end up being close. And it's something that is becoming very frustrating for me, because it seems like that we do that when we're down inside the 5. I think we had 3 personal fouls when we were inside the 5-yard line today, and that's just absolutely uncalled for.
We'll open it up for questions right now from our media members here this afternoon for Coach David Dean on the heels of West Georgia's 42-13 win over Valdosta State. Who do we have?
Coach, just talk about how big Devontae Jackson was for your ball team today, stepping up with Travis Cuss's injury early on. Just how big was he for the team, to take that, main back role instead of, having that duo there in the backfield?
Well, sure. For the first 5 games, he's been a guy that has shared time with Travis. And, when I found out that Travis was out of the game, I walked back to him and I said, man, it's on your shoulders. And the kid responded. And he's a great player. I love his intensity. He doesn't say a whole bunch, but every day he comes to practice to work, and it pays off on Saturday. And he may be small in stature, but that heart's huge. And when you have a huge heart and you take that out onto the field and you have some confidence in what you're doing and confidence with the people that are in front of you blocking for you, you're going to make plays, and that's exactly what he did today. Just can't say enough of the load that he had to take today, not expecting that, and played an outstanding football game.
Coach, you already talked about your defense shutting them out of the end zone. Shut them out of the red zone. They only made it within the 23 times throughout the game, several drives stalling out. Just kind of describe them being able to step up today.
Well, it seemed like they had the ball a ton of time in the first half. They were having long drives, but again, it was like you said, they get down to the 20-yard line, and we come up with a lot of pressure, and that forced them to throw the ball away. We make great plays from our secondary and knocking the balls away and forcing them to have to go to a field goal. And that was huge, because, again, you take those 2 field goals that they make, if you add them on as touchdowns, it's a different ball game when you're going into the half. It's not 21-13, it's probably 21-20. And, again, our defense played outstanding. They gave up some yards today, but I'm fine with that as long as they played the way that they played when they started sniffing our red zone and our goal line.
Over here.
Hey, Coach.
Take a look.
I was going to say, Willie Candler had a really good game today, 16 for 24, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was just wondering, in that first half, y'all really had to rely on him. Was this, do you think, one of his better performances, especially in the first half when the rushing offense wasn't quite going yet?
Yeah, right now he's playing very consistent football for us, and there's a lot of things that the fan doesn't understand what he's doing in the game and how good of decisions he's making in the game. And there was a period of time there that they were getting us frustrated in what they were doing on the defensive side of the ball and taking our run away, and we had to go to the pass a little bit more. And when you do that, then it puts a lot of pressure on him and his shoulders, and he responded, makes some big time throws. I think more than anything else, he did make some great throws, but he made some great runs out of the pocket and got us some first downs at key times. Not only were they, long yardage, but they were second and long and got us in manageable positions on 3rd down or got us a first down.
Coach, talk about how big it is to be able to, we talked about Willie Candler, but to be able to throw Tyler Queen in there as well, kind of have that red zone package, just, to be able to switch up, what you're kind of doing on offense and kind of have that unpredictability to your offense as well.
Well, it helps us out because, Willie's not a very big guy, and we can get down in there, and when you've got that extra quarterback that's a good size and a good runner and has good vision, it's an extra back in the backfield that's taking the snap. So you have Devontae back there, and you got another back in the backfield, and you got him. There's 3 different guys that can actually carry that ball. So it's a big weapon for us. And, we'll probably start using that a little bit more in some short yardage situations. It's a package that we carry in every week and we'll always have. He, again, big guy like that can run the ball, that's going to help us down the road.
Okay.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering, you coached at Valdosta for all those years. I was curious how big a part in your preparation, how was it, playing or coaching for them and then versus playing them today? How much did that help you?
Well, it was a very emotional day for me. I saw a lot of people before the game that I have not seen in probably a year and a half, and people that were very close to me and helped me in my entire time down there. There were several players that were on that sideline that were playing in that game that I sat in their living room and I recruited and sat in a room with them and tried to convince them to go to that school. So you know, when you see the hurt in their eyes afterwards, it hurts. But I'm proud of our guys. But again, I told our team, it's not about me. Everybody's trying to make this game about me because I was at Valdosta. It's about you guys. You guys are the ones that are going to win the peach basket. You guys are the ones that are going to make the plays. You guys go out and play the game and quit worrying about all this stuff about what people are saying about me. And I'm just proud of our guys. I'm proud that we brought the peach basket back here to Carrollton, Georgia, because that's what our guys wanted to do. And you know, a big game, and it's always going to be a big game. It's an in-state rivalry. It's one of those that's always going to carry a lot of emotion for everybody that's involved, but it carried a lot of emotion for me today.
Anything else for Coach Dean in this segment here? We will wrap it up with Coach Dean for right now. Coach will be back with us coming up later on. We have our student athletes coming up right now, and an outstanding day for some guys in the West Georgia uniform this afternoon. The Wolves 42-13 over the Blazers. West Georgia 550 yards of total offense. We ran for 259. And you have players that are different. They are at their best against certain opponents. Through the years here, we've had them. If you put West Owl out there, so-and-so is going to steal the show, or Delta. You put a Blazer uniform in front of Devontae Jackson, and he turns into a weapon and a half. Today, Devontae joins us now. 21 carries, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. You had 1 kick return. You caught a pass. You like playing against Valdosta State, don't you, sir?
Yeah, I love it. It's just one of them games that last year I didn't get to play, and it hurt me. We took a loss. So I knew this year I had to, show up and help the team out, and I was able to do that.
You're a guy, and the way we talked about it, I talked to folks all day. Your freshman year here, playoff game, we fall behind with 5 minutes to go. We get a penalty. We start in the hole. 2 Devontae Jackson runs later, and we're on our way to a winning touchdown drive. You like the big moment, don't you?
It's exciting. It's just, it pumps me up. Having your name called, the team depends on you and trusts in you.
What interesting thing about you don't seem bashful about blitz pickup, or you seem to like to run A gap and B gap. You're not the biggest back around. Running inside has never seemed to bother you, has it?
Oh no, it's just something I like to do. I really don't. Growing up, I didn't like being called a scat back. You know what I mean? Just because I'm small, don't mean I can't do what the bigger backs do. So I just continue to prove in that game and just execute when it's time to execute.
You look mighty big in the end zone today. There's no doubt about that. We'll open it to questions for Devontae Jackson, Jr., running back out of Marietta, Georgia. Who do we have for questions for Devontae? We'll go to the back here.
Devontae, just talk about your performance today, man. 21 carries, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. How did you feel out there? I see you was able to get the ball in space and make a couple people miss. Look like Lil Barry Sanders out there, man. Talk about your performance.
I appreciate that. I mean, it felt great, but ultimately I gotta give the credit to the O-line, the receivers, and the coaches, calling the correct plays when it's time to, call the plays.
Okay, we're over here.
Devontae, you talked about the offensive line. Just how big were those holes, and how easy did it make for you to have that vision and just decipher where you're gonna go and which cuts you're gonna make?
Everybody was on the same page. So when you're on the same page and everybody trusting in the coaching, it's pretty easy.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Jackson while we're with him here?
Hey, Devontae, talk about your 30-yard touchdown run. I think that was your first one of the day. It kind of looked like you was out a little bit close to the sideline a little bit. How was you able to maneuver your balance to stay in balance to continue to run?
I was staying patient, and then I seen the little seam. I just burst through it.
We go back here for one right now.
Obviously, this being a rivalry game, things are going to get very physical. I noticed, Valdosta was doing a lot of talking, and there's a lot of talking along the sidelines. But I noticed you guys as a team did a really good job, staying off the Valdosta players when things were getting a little chippy. How did you guys react to the chippiness and stuff, especially late in the game? Y'all were really
just trying to stay focused, trying to focus on us and not them.
And that group. Anything else for Devontae before we move along and turn to the defensive side of the ball with Malcolm? That is it, Devontae. Congratulations again. You are moving way up the ladder and on the list in all kind of statistical categories. And we still got you for a year and a half. That's the good part there. Out of Marietta, Georgia, what a tremendous performance today and through his career here at the University of West Georgia. And we'll move it to the defensive side of the ball today. And we talked about with Coach Dean up here a moment ago, Malcolm Penny with us. He was our tackles leader in the afternoon, had 9 stops in the ball game. Your first taste of West Georgia Valdosta State, what was it like today?
It was a wonderful feeling. Just went out there and did what I had to do, what the coaches expected me to do. Took care of business.
And obviously, was this, I know, statistically your biggest game, best game that you've had for us so far? You've been good every game. What do you think?
Figured out they put me in the right predicament, the right places, called the right calls, and I made the plays.
Perfect. Players are good at coach speak and that as well. What was your favorite thing about winning the ball game today? We'll ask you that before we open it up.
The scoreboard.
I like the way this guy may be a coach one day, the way he answers questions. How about from our media folks, questions for Malcolm here this afternoon?
Malcolm, just talk about what the added, incentive was with it being Valdosta State and the rivalry game and the battle for the Peach Basket.
With this game, it made it seem like we had to play harder. It had to be a tough game, tough fought game. We treated it like it was more than that because they had something that we wanted, so we had to go take that and get it back.
We'll go right here, right now.
Hey Malcolm, great game today, buddy. And obviously a great win. Would you guys consider this game, I know it's still kind of relatively early in the season, but would you guys say this is one of y'all's biggest wins of the year?
Definitely. Rivalry game, Peach Basket, game in the state. It's a plus.
And you pitched a shutout in the second half. The defense really took a lot of pride in making sure they didn't get anything, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
Like that a lot on that point.
Malcolm, talk a little bit about the play on the goal line when you delivered a nice blow to whoever it was that had the ball for Valdosta. Talk a little bit about that play.
Opportunity, one-on-one, live for those. So, had to, it's unexplainable. I just made the play happen. Drove him back. It was major.
That's outstanding. Malcolm, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for all you're doing. Look forward to West Howell next week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll continue coming up here in a moment with Coach David Dean. And thank you all of our media folks with us today as we continue the David Dean Postgame Report, brought to you as it is each week here by SMI, Systems and Methods Incorporated, great host and benefactors for West Georgia athletics. And Coach Dean, a lot of emotions today. First, the Hall of Fame back. Some of those guys did what they did because of what you did while you were coaching. Here, you were there, you had the opportunity to help them along, and you had a chance to benefit from their talents. It was great to see them today.
It really was. There was a lot of folks that were in the Hall of Fame that came back today. Saw a lot of former players that weren't in the Hall of Fame, and it's good to see them. I think a lot of those former players are starting to kind of get that West Georgia feel again and come back and be a part of this and get to know our players and see our players come off. And it's good for our players to see the former players and see them come back and know that the tradition that West Georgia is all about. So that it was good for me to see those guys, but it's also good for our players to see them as well.
It was odd. Right before we did the show, I talked to one of those guys, Tim McLean, who is a Valdosta native, interestingly enough. And I said, you realize we never won a game in this series until you showed up. Our first win was your freshman year. And he looked like he's ready to go out and hit somebody after that. And it's good to see having that. It's an asset when the guys who help build history are the ones wanting to help make some more.
Well, those guys that presented me with the game ball before the game were Tim McLean, Jeremy Clements, Chris Williams, and Casey Pannone. And, I turned to them and I said, hey, we got some pads in there. We'll take you right now. And all of them were great players. All of them were kind of the foundation of what this program was all about when it started to turn, when Coach Fisher, Charlie Fisher took over this program and it started to grow and it became a program that everybody began to talk about. And it's fun to go back and talk with those guys. It's amazing the number of guys from that era that are coaching football now and coaching young guys. And they talk about what a great staff we had and how close we were together and how we grew together and how we fought for each other. And that's when you know you're doing the right things. That's what, to me, college football is the greatest sport ever. And that's the reason why it is, because of those friendships that you make and the memories that are made in the time that you have in the 4 years with those guys.
Coach, I know at the time we're taping this, it's early, the injury report. We had more bang-ups today probably than we've had all year.
We did, and that's physical football. Hopefully, we don't have any major ones. We'll take a look. We lost 3 offensive linemen that went out in the game. Hopefully, they're going to be okay. We won't know anything more until in the morning when they come back in and have a chance to get treatment and see our doctors. But the good thing about it, our kids that were behind those guys came in and played exceptionally well. And that's what you got to have. You got to have those guys that step up that are the backups.
Coach, I think a case can be made. Ever since the burp at Delta State, we've gotten better 3 weeks in a row, and that's got to make you proud.
Well, it is, and it's been a heck of a stretch. When you talk about Delta, Albany State, North Alabama, Valdosta State, now West Alabama, that's a heck of a five-game run that you're making. We've got a big one next week. I don't know what's going to happen with West Alabama and Delta State, but you're looking at if West Alabama pulls off an upset and beats Delta State, we go over to West Alabama for a chance to make this a 3-way race and put 3 teams in first place. But we're going to enjoy this one tonight. We're going to have a good week of practice, hopefully, and make a good trip over to Livingston, Alabama.
I got to ask you, everybody talked all week about the Valdosta connection and this and that. Heck, I made as big a deal as anybody. You coached in your 31st one of these things today. How are you going to go to Livingston? You never worked there. You never coached at West Alabama. I know you got a lot of respect for Coach Gillen and his football program.
I do. They've done an outstanding job turning that program around, and they're having a great year. The only loss right now is to Samford University over in Birmingham, and that was a dogfight. They were behind early in the game, fought back, only lost by 1 touchdown. And Samford's a very good football team, good FCS football team. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge, but I can't say enough. I'm proud of where I am. I'm proud of these guys that I coach and I go out to practice with every day. I'm proud of the way that they go out and practice, and I'm proud of the way that they play. And it's like we talk about, just one more week. Let's go back out and let's play very good one more week. So we got to travel well, go play in a hostile environment, and hopefully play very well and come away with another victory.
Could be a lot of fun. We've had some good days in Tiger Stadium. Let's go have another one.
I'll take it right now.
It'll be Tiger Stadium, Livingston, Alabama. That's a 5 p.m. start, odd starting time next Saturday for the West Georgia Wolves and the West Alabama Tigers from Tiger Stadium in Livingston. And we certainly hope you'll have ways to follow the game if you'll go to uwgsports.com. All the previews, all of everything from rankings and awards and you name it, it'll be there all week long to get you ready for West Georgia and West Alabama next Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Want to thank Malcolm Penny, want to thank Devontae Jackson, for head coach David Dean, the sports information staff, Matt Jarrett, and everybody here at the University of West Georgia. Thanks for being here with us today and all the work they put in to make this possible. The David Dean post-game report on a winning Saturday in Carrollton. Wolves 42, Blazers 13. From the University of West Georgia, for Coach Dean, Mitch Gray saying thanks for joining us and good day, everybody.